back to your point, your thoughts.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, we saw this today with JD Vance when he was leaving, to go to Greenland. Many Marines, we have seen interviews across X so far talking about what it is to have somebody in office that supports them. And we've seen recruitment numbers skyrocket ever since President Trump has been in. So the American dream is back. The entrepreneurial spirit is back. And, the country, I think, we feel that culturally overall, especially with President Trump, even just showing up to these events, something we did not see from the last administration.
That is so true. He is a culture warrior who's out there really commenting on a plethora of different issues and moving the ball on it. But it's so true to your point, Ashley, that he is someone who loves sports, and it's been a major part of this presidency, unlike the last one for sure. So what's on the horizon for you with any sporting stuff coming up, any maybe comeback to volleyball? We know it's a big season for that. How are the brackets going as well for your March Madness?
I am not the biggest basketball fan, which I'm going to get some heat from that. I already know. But, there's a huge tournament actually down in the Panhandle called Bud Puckers. And a lot of people sign up. It's a group tournament. It's a lot of fun. And that's what's so great about beach volleyball. All age ranges can play. You can play in groups against male and female. They do have a height difference in the net. That is kind of the thing. But it is kind of one of those sports you can play against so many and meet so many people. It's the community aspect. It's kind of a small community, but at the same time, just really down-to-earth people that you can meet there. That's what's happening currently in the Panhandle. But, of course, I really enjoy watching that NCAA wrestling. Of course, I'm a huge UFC fan. So, President Trump's continued to uplift that sport from the beginning. And I think, I honestly, I'm being from the South, as you guys know, being in Auburn, Alabama, I'm missing football season a little right now.
It's about there, that spring football, just not the same, even though, Birmingham has a team. But definitely looking forward to fall in the South. There is nothing quite like it.
Definitely. Well, RSBN's host, Ashley Brassfield, thanks so much for joining us on this broadcast. We'll see you again soon. And I know since you're in Destin, we might have to line up a Golf of America live report once again, just to talk to the people down there. Hopefully we can get you to do that.
Absolutely. Might have to catch some spring breakers. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thanks so much, Ashley. So 2:35 Wednesday, March 26th, and so a bit later in a half an hour or so, we're going to see the president there at that event for Women's History Month. And it's awesome to see just conservative women out there just kicking some serious you-know-what.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. And Ashley is at the top of that game with her incredible commentary and analysis. So that's the funny thing about, we look back to the campaign with Mark Cuban saying that strong women were not around President Trump. Nothing could be further from the truth. And I think that was really a thank you and a highlight to Mr. Cuban for helping put President Trump over the leverage to get back into power by making such ridiculous comments.
Yeah, those comments were ridiculous. And, these people try and get that 15 seconds of fame. Isn't it interesting that even famous people try that now? The so-called famous people. Those days are over. At the end of the day, we're looking for people that resonate with the American people.
Right.
And that's really what is going to sell and be positive and successful moving forward. So that's what we have. It's really embarrassing, to be honest, to see all the great things that are happening in our country. And then today at that press briefing, every so-called establishment reporter who's been around for so many years keeps asking the same question, just in a different way, to try and catch Carolyn Levitt on this whole signal situation. It was ridiculous to hear the questions. They just don't stop because that's all they have. All right, so let's go to the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. I believe he's live right now. Let's go there.
And can shut down a shipping lane and increase the cost of shipping that we're all paying for. Everything we buy, all the stuff is embedded in the cost and in the price of these things is how much it costs to ship it. And so that's just not a sustainable thing. We can't allow it. So I think the point I would make is not, we're going to make everybody pay. It's everybody should recognize we are doing the world a great favor going after these guys because this can't continue. This is unsustainable. What's next? Some gang's going to show up somewhere else and shut off another shipping lane. That's not practical. It cannot happen. So what was your first question? I was so fired up about that one that I forgot the other one. Oh, yes, that one. Easy ones. Well, look, I think yesterday our negotiators are en route, or perhaps they've already arrived. After spending, I think they met with the Ukrainians twice, the Russians once. What we have here is an agreement in principle on a Black Sea ceasefire. We got two things from that. The first is we have more detailed definition of what the energy ceasefire entails. And the second is the principle, concept of a Black Sea ceasefire. Obviously, after our meeting, as part of their release, the Russians detailed a number of conditions that they want to see met in order to do that. So we're going to evaluate that. Some of those conditions include sanctions that are not ours. They belong to the European Union. So we're going to be gathering and sort of, when our folks get back, sitting down, going through the proposals, getting their impressions of the conversations, so we can more fully understand what the Russian position is or what their ask is in exchange. And then we'll present that to the President, who will ultimately make a decision about what the next step here. I think it's a good thing that we have both the Ukrainians and the Russians talking about ceasefires, be they energy or be they potentially in the Black Sea. But obviously, this is hard and difficult work. This is a protracted almost 3.5-year war now, or 3-year war. It has a lot of framework of sanctions that have been built globally now that have to be looked at as part of an ultimate end to a conflict. There's a lot of things that have to be worked through. And I certainly think the only way you're going to make progress on these things is by engaging with both sides, understanding their asks, their demands, and seeing what's possible. So we're going to have a chance now to sort of sit down as a team and evaluate when they arrive in detail how the meetings went with the Ukrainians, how the meetings went with Russia, what are the Russians asking for, what are the Ukrainians asked for, compare all that, and then make a decision on that basis about what comes next in this process. In the end, the goal here is peace. The goal is to end a war where people are dying. And I think everyone should be happy that the United States is engaged in a process of ending a war and bringing about peace. It's not going to be easy. It won't be simple. It'll take some time. But at least we're on that road and we're talking about these things. And we're going to test it and see what's possible. We think we owe that to the world. And the President, I continue to say, is the only leader in the world right now, President Trump, who's in a position to even get these two nations to a city to talk about these things, albeit in rooms far apart from one another when these talks were going on. But nonetheless, they're talking. It's the first time in a while that we've seen any conversation about this. But we have a lot of work yet to be done, and we'll know more after we get the readout from our teams.
Okay, our last question will come from Andrea Chisholm from Television Jamaica.
Thank you. Secretary Rubio, given changes to U.S. immigration policies, there are some Jamaicans who are afraid to travel back to Jamaica, even though they are legitimate green card holders. What assurances can you give to those individuals that they will have no difficulty returning to the United States?
Well, yeah, right. Green card,
quickly,
green card or residency? I mean, permanent residence, you're asking me about?
Permanent,
yes. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And secondly, what problems, if any, does America have with China's investment in Jamaica?
Well, look, I mean, China's a rich and powerful country. Our problem is not investment. Okay. Our problem is predatory practices. That's what we're concerned about. What we have seen all over the world is that China comes in and says, here's a bunch of money for a project they never build. They bring their own workers to do the work. They don't hire the locals. They bring their own workers. And oftentimes it comes attached with a huge loan that can never be repaid, and now they hold it over your head forever. That's our concern. Our concern is unfair practices, too, where they come in, they're government-subsidized companies, underbid everybody because they're subsidized, but then they come back and charge you whatever they want because now they've got the contract. So these are the things that we remain very concerned about. Again, not specifically about Jamaica, but in general. And so that's what we'll continue to highlight. On the first point, I would say, let me talk about that. If you're a green card holder, you're not illegally in the United States. If you're a green card holder, you are legally in the United States. What the President has said, and I don't know how anybody can disagree with this, every country in the world has immigration laws. And immigration laws, if you don't enforce them, you don't have immigration laws. Over the last few years, we've had, 13, 14, 15 million people enter the United States unlawfully and irregularly. No country in the world can assume that. By the way, that's not unique to us, right? Even here in Jamaica, you've faced challenges of migration. And it's not that we don't sympathize with people that are leaving difficult circumstances. It's that no society can absorb mass migration from anywhere in the world. You just can't do it. And we're facing that challenge. That's not specific to Jamaica. I'm just speaking in general. And so the President is doing something that, frankly, hasn't been done in a long time. He's enforcing our immigration laws. And that's what we're doing. So if you're a green card holder, you're not illegally in the United States. I think the challenge is for those who are illegally in the United States, we have to have immigration laws. They have to be followed. I mean, I don't know why that's an unreasonable demand. And frankly, I mean, Jamaica is not a major source of illegal migration, to be frank. It's not even in the top 10 or top 20, for that matter, I don't think. But that said, we are enforcing our immigration laws, because here's what happens if you don't. You'll get another 12 million people. And if tomorrow Jamaica announced anybody who wants to come can come in, you're going to get a lot of people too, and you know it's going to be very disruptive. So we need to have immigration laws, and we need to enforce them, and that's what we are. That's what the president is doing. That's what he promised voters he would do, and that's what we're going to continue to do. But if you're a green card holder, you're legally in the United States, unless, and I say this because a lot of these people come, unless you're some student visa holder who's a sympathizer of some terrorist organization and is running around in our streets like a lunatic, burning down buildings and attacking students at universities. If you're one of these lunatics that's going to put on a mask over your face and break into a student union center and harass students, and we wouldn't have let you in the first place. If you had told us that, if you told us, I'm going to America not just to study at your university, but to tear up your campus, we would have never let you in. And if you do that, once you come into the United States, we're going to kick you out. We're going to do that. And I don't care what terrorist organization they're supporting, we're going to kick you out. If you're a gang member, we're going to kick you out. Okay? If you're one of these violent gang members that's coming to the United States, then we're going to kick you out. That we're going to do. There's no doubt about it. But the president's very committed to that. And but if you're a green card holder and you're not any of these things, you're going to be fine.
Prime Minister Holness and Secretary Rubio, as we close today's press conference, we want to thank you for your engagement here today. We thank all of the members of the media and all of the other guests who are here, and we wish you safe travels and a happy rest of the day. Thank you.
All right, so just saw that press conference with the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, and the flag we're seeing there is the Jamaican flag. So a great event there with the Secretary of State. So, Robert, we still have a lot on tap for today.
Yes, there is no stopping this administration, and our 87th Secretary of State really putting in the miles, just about as much, if not more, than President Trump, going internationally and really being in the center of all of these crucial negotiations, doing an extraordinary job. And whenever I think Jamaica, I can't help it. I think about Cool Runnings. That was one of my favorite movies.
No, that's a great movie. All right, so 2:45. I could talk about that all day. So stand on track. All right, so 2:45 on this beautiful Wednesday, March 26th. Thanks again for streaming in with us. Hope your day is going well as we monitor and cover everything from Washington, D.C. And when there is breaking news, I think people are starting to get used to that we can cover things that are outside of the Beltway as well.
Yes, absolutely. And if you have anything that's America First that you think would be important for us to showcase, to be your voice truly, inside and outside the Beltway, just send us feedback at rsbn.tv. Send your thoughts to feedback at rsbn.tv. And we will see where we can go from there, because we love to hear from you, the American people, and to showcase here at this live desk just exactly what's going on out in your neck of the woods, especially if it comes to government overreach, because we've seen it on so many different levels throughout our careers, and we want to make sure no one's taking advantage of you, the American people.
Exactly. And for those of you that follow us on Truth Social or X, you know, RSBN's account, which has more than 1 million on X, more than 2 million on Truth Social. You can follow me on Truth Social at Matthew Alvarez. For those of you that do follow, sometimes we talk back and forth. It's great to have that community, isn't it?
Oh, it's really nice to have that. And just think a couple of years ago, President Trump was banned from certain platforms, and now we have such unbridled access thanks to things like Truth Social and thanks to things like now X, Elon Musk doing an amazing job to defend Western civilization. And, you know, little X is really stealing the show, I think, at every turn with his dad and, of course, joining President Trump on Marine One. I think definitely a great cheerleader for this administration, and great to see his young son so active and engaged in this process.
What's quite awesome is that you can actually watch us on live stream on Truth Social, on X, on Facebook, on YouTube but we love when you watch as well on Rumble. I mean, Rumble, what a great live streaming app that is, and it's all about freedom. So it's wonderful to see that with Rumble as well. Let's go to Tax Network USA. Tax Network USA, 800-357-1415 is the number to settle your back taxes today.
Yes, and make sure you do that before April 15th, that dreaded day that the far left loves, but it's very irritating for hardworking Americans. So settle those back taxes now. 800-357-1415. Call today. Do not delay. TNUSA.com/RSBN. The Patriot experts can help you with property taxes, state and federal income taxes, and how to process all of that and file. So be sure to visit them today before that April 15th deadline.
Exactly. All right, so 2:48 in the afternoon, Wednesday, March 26th. Thanks again for joining us here, streaming live with us to all of this coverage today. In about 12 minutes, it's scheduled to start the Women's History Month event. President Trump, of course, will be there. I believe we'll see First Lady Melania Trump at this event. It'll be quite awesome to see the power couple that, as we know President Trump and Melania Trump are. So we're looking forward to that. And then at 4 o'clock, we're hearing that there will be this press conference from the Oval Office talking about the automobile industry and tariffs and reciprocal trade situations there too. So a lot still to happen here on Right Side. We're also hearing that Ashley Brassfield, our RSBN host, who was just on the broadcast, said she's on her way to the Gulf of America. So we might be able to see her live in the meantime while we await some of the coverage we're about to go to. So that'll be great to see that. And also in a bit, we'll be airing a Paul Stone interview, of course, Colonial Metals Group, the great company and the great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. And if you also missed the press conference with Carolyn Levitt earlier, we may replay that as well. If we don't get to that, you can always catch that on Rumble or other social platforms.
Yes, and an outstanding one today, really stopping the fake news narrative about this Atlantic story. So again, you can go to the source of this administration, whether it be through her, President Trump, of course, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, among others, who are very transparent. So I think it's just something that's been very overblown by Jeffrey Goldberg and his team, clearly committed to a leftist agenda. And some, sadly, in the media fall for that bait and try to make it sensationalized. And she stuck right to it today, sharing the truth and not cowering to the far left narrative.
See, at the end of the day, it's common sense that you can kind of see which ones are the fake news reporters in that room by the questions that they ask. It's pretty simple stuff. I mean, that's common sense. So at the end of the day, moving on from the ridiculousness of the Pacific magazine. So anyway, 2:50, 10 minutes away from Wednesday, March 26th at 3 o'clock, of course. So looking forward to all the coverage we have coming up. Robert, I mean, coming up this week, too, I mean, every day it seems as if President Trump makes another historic move.
Oh, he really does. And yesterday, especially with those executive orders to streamline the Treasury Department and then also release those files, the FBI files pertaining to Crossfire Hurricane. Of course, we had Katie Zachariah on to share her legal expertise on everything happening in regards to that and the fact that Hillary Clinton spied on President Trump's campaign. And that's just unacceptable. We know this to be true. Also, with all of this, the Russia hoax, which led to many dangerous turns for an administration, on top of the fact that a bloated bureaucratic deep state tried to undercut a duly elected constitutional officer, the President of the United States. If you have not read the Lee Smith book, if you have not watched the great documentary, The Plot Against the President, featuring our very own FBI Director Kash Patel, that's something you must see. Thank you to Lee Smith, former Congressman Devin Nunes, of course, leading True Social, and now FBI Director Patel. If we didn't have those gentlemen, my goodness, we would have not known about the Russia hoax and Crossfire Hurricane. Now you can go see those documents. They have been released. So I hope journalists will be doing that. We'll be doing that here on Right Side Broadcasting as well to bring you the truth.
And we couldn't do it without our great sponsors here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and also you, the viewer, as you have an option to donate to the network. We'll talk about that a bit later, but let's go to angelpaste.com. Use the RSBN promo code. You see one product right there, but there are many more on this website, angelpaste.com. Of course, out of Spring, Texas, they hire military veterans, and they also have a great product.
Yes, they really do. And so many different options. So experience the miracle today at angelpaste.com. whether it is the Miracle Cream itself, which will turn your dry hands into luscious, beautiful, shiny examples of health, because this is non-GMO, no chemicals. Also a great vitamin C option with their orange immunity booster and protector. And then they have a Manly Man line. So make sure to do that for a facial ointment, but also the black bottle and label, which is very discreet, but also super manly. You can grab the tackle box after you make sure you have your own spa day at home. I'm really excited too about their mosquito repellent. That's great, because I was talking earlier in the separate broadcast about, you ever go to these barbecues and someone's just spraying the mosquito spray like crazy? It goes on the hot dogs, it goes in your drinks, and then it can make you sick. It's poison. This is not. So I would rather have this.
Angelpaste.com is where you get it too. And then use that RSBN promo code for a percentage off. A great sponsor at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Speaking of great sponsors, Colonial Metals Group, we interviewed the CEO, Paul Stone. Director, do we have that interview? We could play that now. And while we stand by for the president's event at the White House there, as soon as the president appears or we get a live feed from the White House, we can go to the White House, even if it's during this interview, but we'll be able to re-air the interview right after as well. So let's go to that Paul Stone interview all about the Colonial Metals Group.
We're joined by Paul Stone from Colonial Metals Group. Sir, thank you for joining us once again. I'd like to get your take on the House spending package and the bill that went into resolution and was ultimately passed. Somewhat of a surprise, because it was just by that 217, 215 threshold. Shows how narrow that majority is for the Republicans.
Yeah, well, that was something to take note of. But they all voted for it except for one. I'm torn. I'm a huge fan of Donald Trump. When I got to meet him at Mar-a-Lago at his first victory celebration, put together by Larry Kudlow's initiative that helped him and what created some of the blueprint that got him back to a victorious situation with the White House rather than a cantankerous situation. I called him Braveheart. He's fighting an enemy that's already here. Sylvester Stallone had introduced him as the second coming of George Washington, but I told Mr. President Donald Trump that Washington was fighting a visiting army and navy. And this time around, Donald Trump is fighting an enemy that's already here. And so when I see that the debt ceiling needs to raise up by $4 trillion over the next 2 years, when I don't see, and I could be wrong, maybe this was adjusted, correct me please, no taxes on tips didn't make it into this one. I think it would be a larger conversation to get no taxes on Social Security, didn't make it into this one. But, whenever you're going to do tax cuts, all you're really saying is the government's going to go without money it got from you. And that's a great thing fundamentally, because we want a government that has to come to us and discuss big topics, right? They can't just print money. But if these days they're not getting money that they're used to getting, they're just going to print that money. And that's why the debt ceiling has to continue to raise up. So to me, and I'll end with this on response to your question, for someone who's just going to the ground with this, taking a farmer's approach, like just the plainest approach you could take to the economic numbers and the government and the economy and wages and inflation and the cost of commodities, just the simplest approach. If they are going to continue to print money, then they haven't cut any spending. They might be spending projectedly less than they had intended to before he came to town, but they're not cutting spending. And that breaks my heart, because that's the only thing that saves the dollar and continues and stops the worsening for the American family and the American individual.
And that's a good point, because the Congressional Budget Office did say with this bill, as they scored it, that it could add to the deficit. There is part of that reconciliation package did have the no tax on tips, at least a form of that. But this was something that, took kind of the last minute to get the whipped votes together in order for passage. So we'll see ultimately how President Trump addresses this when it gets to his desk. What do you think of his plans regarding the Trump Gold Card? So it's with Howard Lutnick at Commerce to re-envision the EB-5 visa, where these green cards and these worker cards would be basically sold at a price. They could be say that you have all these countries purchasing them with how they want to propose it, it could be up to $50 trillion for the United States, according to the administration. Then in turn, we have roughly a $36 trillion debt or so. How realistic do you think that could come about in the next few months or a couple of years from now?
I think it's an interesting idea, and this is what you want. You want this kind of thinking in the White House. You want entrepreneurial, think outside the box. How does our economy flourish? What brings benefit down to the people? You know, we want their paychecks to benefit. We don't just want the government to benefit. Reagan famously, I guess, was saying to Carter, Carter, he said, the people, the government doesn't have an inflation people, the people do, a problem. Right? Like the government doesn't care if there's inflation. They don't care. They print money. It's the people that suffer when they do print money. And so anything that can bring revenue into the country that isn't, hurtful or harmful to the people that are already here is a great idea. My thought would be when I first heard that, great, let's stitch on for every person that pays the 5 million or whatever it was, billion or million, that they have to bring 10 people with them, 10 great people. That they open the door for 10 folks that have to deal with a 7-year naturalization process. You understand why these people just come across the Rio Grande? They've heard that it'll take 7 years for them to actually get to live here or be a citizen here. Who can go through that process if they aren't loaded in the bank? They don't have big bank accounts. We want common, awesome people to continue to move here. It would help offset the core of our economic problem, which is 70 million people retired starting in 1997. So if you can just focus on that for a second, we never had a retirement cost of any note until 1997, 98. Then all of a sudden, for the first time in American financial history, we had a gigantic loss from the productivity side and a new cost we'd never had before, gigantic cost that worsens every year. And now the whole planet's dealing with this and no one talks about it. There's 917 million human beings on Earth of the 8 billion that are over 70.
And to that point, that's really interesting to dive into because President Trump has said at the CPAC conference and recently in other speeches that he wants to protect Social Security as it stands. And that's a launch from the left. You'll hear a lot of that from Democrats on the offensive, that Republicans want to dive into those funds. Are these funds sustainable ultimately? And how do we reform that and make sure that people are getting the benefits they've paid into, but also making sure we don't go bankrupt? Because even Elon Musk mentioned that during the cabinet meeting, that this is a moral issue. If the United States goes bankrupt, it's too soon, too late.
So I guess there might be a couple definitions for bankruptcy. One would be you're technically bankrupt. To me, the difference between Bernie Madoff and the federal government is that the federal government can print money. Imagine if Bernie could have printed money and paid those redemptions, those people wanting their money out of his fund. He would have never gotten discovered for what he was doing. But he couldn't print money, so he did get caught. So was he bankrupt? Did he go bankrupt? The government went bankrupt a long time ago. And if I could, I do have a Karl Rove approved whiteboard, and I've been talking about this all week. So when we look at real GDP, and I'll be quick, in 2021, the first year without Trump, GDP is $19.4 trillion. So if America Incorporated, and you counted all of its revenue, it did 19.4. In 2024, you can see there it did 23.4 trillion. So that's 4 trillion in GDP growth. Except you printed $8.8 trillion in those 4 years. So does that look like bankruptcy to you? Because that's not a profit. The economy shrank 4.4 trillion without the printed money. And then you look at the deficit for 2020, that 3 trillion folded into the 2021 numbers. 3 trillion just in 2020 alone. That folds into, I'm on the wrong hand here, the 19.4 million. I need more practice with this. So when we talk about bankruptcy, it's already there. It happened a long time ago. It happened in 2008, essentially, because without American printed money, we have a negative GDP for the last 17 years. So, oh my God, when do we feel this bankruptcy? when the ability to print money, when money has no more potency left in it, it's worth 2.7 cents today, the dollar. So when that potency reaches some mathematical place of half a penny, a tenth of a penny, maybe 1 penny, we don't know how long this actually lasts. And I know no one's talking about it. And you're sitting there going, how does Paul talk about this stuff like it's important when no one else who is important is talking about it? Because I don't think they're aware of it. I really don't think they're aware of it. I know Warren Buffett is saying, just keep saving $200 a month from every paycheck, and 40 years from now, you'll have a ton of money. I don't think so, because the dollar when he started doing that was worth 80 cents. And today it's worth 3. So that's the resource that allows us to communicate today, and me to put on a suit and talk and had a breakfast and a lunch today. Without the printed money, you don't have any of this. You have Bernie Madoff.
Yeah, some fantastic points there. And do you think there should be a balanced budget amendment that Congress really has to push forward in order to streamline and stop some of this printing of the money? Because even when I look at now, I'm turning 37 relatively soon. I look in my lifetime, to your point, the devaluing of our currency and the fact that it's harder to own properties or even a first home for many in my generation, between the millennials and the Gen Zers, and even some older, because it's just their own stock and savings, their assets against inflation becoming harder and harder. So how does the average person really handle this and stand up to what's going on in United States and world markets?
Offenses win when they go where the defense isn't. So if we're just going to sign up, your demographic, your age group, your generation. If you're thinking, well, I'm just going to go the way I've seen other people go, I'm gonna maybe have to go to college, so I'll take on some debt, and then I'll get that degree, which pays me more money when I get out of college than if I just went to high school, and then I'll get that payroll going, and I'll save some money, and I'll buy a house. And it can't happen. Because as the government prints, young man, it causes the cost to go higher every year. It's the government that prints the money because it doesn't have the money to pay for Social Security, Medicaid, and Medicare, all retiree-born costs. It doesn't have the money to pay those bills. And no one there is strong enough, long time ago, to say, hey, we need quality people to come here. When Social Security was created, there were 44 workers for a retiree. Today, there's 3. The government let all that slip. The government let all of that never get spoken about or worked on as a problem. When Reagan was president, he had the gravitas to come out and say, my fellow Americans, we need to invite good folks south of the Rio Grande to come live here. Although that might have sparked a little ire in people, and they may have been, and the politicians worried about sparking off some racism claims and all kinds of frenzy going off in America. But if they had come and said, here's the numbers, in 2025, your dollar's worth 3 cents, you have $36 trillion, and you'll have crazy presidents like Biden and Obama changing you to have your kids to have talks in elementary school about what sex they're going to be. I think everyone in America would have said, oh my God, yeah, let's talk about this. We are a country of immigrants. We need more workers. We need more people living here. We need to do it fashionably. So the government can't stop printing this money. So what if we didn't go into this gerbil wheel of financial misery and we moved to the country, maybe with our college degree, or didn't go get one, and we bought a small, tiny, meager house somewhere that we could afford it, and we actually found that happiness lived there too. Because how can you have happiness if you don't have peace? And you don't have peace if all you have is 7 days a week of stress and things that you want that you can't get, but you are the quality person to have those things, like homes and cars paid for and no credit card debt. If you're the quality person that could have all that and you can't, then that's misery. And we're not even in the top 20th happiest countries on the planet. Google the list. We're 23rd. Kuwait is happier than we are. Kuwait. So when you look at what the challenges are for you guys in those younger generations, it can only get worse, brother. It can only get worse because the government's design for approaching problems like these is to print money, which creates problems they can never solve. So long ago, when we were all dealing with life and the drought came, we dealt with it. We got through it. It ended. When the plague came, it sucked, and we lost lots of friends and family, but we got through it. It was temporary. The federal government isn't temporary, and that's why life can't change. So we have to change where we go. And this is the last shot. No one is going to bring probably more momentum, logic, reason, soundness than Elon Musk and Donald Trump and his administration against this slippage of erosion of American principles and fundamentals and just financial sanity. No one's going to bring a case harder against this momentum that they've been tracking on for over 30 years against us, the Americans that live here. It's evil. So last set of numbers and on this point, just to articulate. In 1971, average income in America was $9,000. And guess how much a home cost? 18 grand. Twice your average income. How easy was that? It took 2 years to save to buy a house. And guess what? Mom didn't have to go to work or stay at work if she became a mom. She could check out of the workforce and raise kids because dad's income was enough. Today, the average home price is 440 grand. And it's skewed because there's a lot of printed money in these employment payroll numbers. But average income, if you kind of account for some of that, is around $48,000 a year. So the house is almost 10x your income, and it takes on average 8 years to buy a home. And those numbers are skewed because there's a lot of, if you catch that college degree and end up in financial services, there's only a few industries left in this country, and those are usually very high paying jobs. So it skews the numbers. But if we strip that out, you might think it takes 14 years to save for a down payment to buy a home. You come out of college at 20 something, you ain't buying a home until you're 36. Wow. That's American erosion. That's where the American dream has disappeared a long time ago. Now it's just a memory. Trump working his ass off to bring that back. But those are the numbers. And numbers don't care if you're yelling from a podium. Bad math only turns into good math with a ton of good math getting mixed in. Raising the debt ceiling $4 trillion over the next 2 years is not part of good math. It's part of reality, but not good math.
Oh, no question about that. The numbers don't lie. And it's affecting every other area of life. I mean, we have people getting married later, a population decrease, especially in certain demographics. And really, you only have people, I think maybe Tucker Carlson, Ron Paul, Rand Paul, perhaps Dennis Kucinich, Mike Lee, that come to mind instantly, who are really talking about how the debt is detrimental to the future of the culture and society as a whole. And as you mentioned, thank God for President Trump, thank God for Elon Musk, who are addressing it on top of all the other issues that they're facing between Doge, facing with the multitude of executive orders, and then further legislation as well, roughly within give or take 40 days in office. Now, it's just breaking news as we're talking now, but you might have caught the meeting with President Trump, President Zelensky of Ukraine, and then that press conference that did not happen. The bilateral meeting looks like it failed, at least temporarily, and Mr. Zelensky left the White House. Apparently, he was speaking to President Trump, wanting to stay for that, but sparks flew in the Oval Office, and rightfully so, as this was not going to be an easy discussion. How does the talk of gold and silver and precious commodities come into play in a situation like this for any given, individual in the United States?
Gold was $300 an ounce when the baby boomers started retiring at the turn of the century, and it's tapping on 3,000 an ounce today. So what does that say? That's just a measurement of the erosion. It continues to worsen with worldwide instability as governments everywhere struggle, fail. They fail at working with their people and their businesses and their economies to produce enough revenue to cover the costs of the country, because the whole world owes $303 trillion to itself. And so when we look at more specifically to Zelensky's behavior, his first step ought to have been, we are so grateful that we don't have to have a Russian flag flying over our capital today, and it's because of Europe and the Americans. And we'd really like this war to end and the slaughter of our brave men and women to stop. And we'd like to rebuild our apartment buildings and our power plants and our roads and stuff, schools and hospitals. Instead, he's kind of just acting like he's got it going on. He doesn't really need it. I mean, I understand Putin's the stronger, person in the room than Zelensky, right? So you gotta, I can see that Trump, perhaps, I'm just suspecting, is paying a little more airtime to that and recognizing that has to be featured and Zelensky has to be the beta and Putin kept as the alpha. And he's not liking that, but that's not going to go well. And life itself is always, always, always about resources, access to resources and maintaining them. Why isn't Tom Brady throwing a football on an NFL field anymore? He lost the resource of youth. I lost the resource of hair. So when we look at how desperate all of this becomes for China, they have more homes that no one lives in than we have homes in America. I think I have that right. It's so astounding. It's hard to believe. I've read it from a few different sources. They have more empty homes that no one will live in China than we have homes in America, total. So when you just look at how the world's just breaking apart, it's fracturing as our weakness continues, our financial dominance. So I think you need gold and silver because it's not money in the dollar. You need gold and silver because it's not money in some institution you have to rely on continuing to provide you with access to your money, or a bad Microsoft update goes down and the world bugs out and you can't get on a plane or a bus or get access to your funds. I mean, who knows? The world, with more and more tech, the world becomes more and more precarious on things it doesn't fully understand or control or see warning signs of before it breaks. At least a bridge will start sending little creaky sounds to you as you drive over it, that maybe it needs some repair work done. When software goes down, boom, it's out. And this move to cryptocurrency, if someone hacks your crypto account, is there an 800 number you can call to get it back? No. What are we talking about here? You can't hack gold and silver.
Yes, some excellent points from Mr. Paul Stone, CEO of Colonial Metals Group. And the proof is in the pudding. Since 1971, if you get the free gold guide, you can get that at freegoldguide.com/RSBN. It shows you how gold has gone up over 7,000% since the end of the gold standard by the Nixon administration in 1971 until just last year. It's never dipped down significantly. It's only been an upward trend. So thank you for the common sense points, and we look forward to having you back on Right Side Broadcasting Network live very soon. Thank you to Mr. Paul Stone.
Thank you for having me. You guys are doing incredible work. God bless you all, and I appreciate your courage and all your hard work.
Likewise, sir. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back to RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. Obviously, you just saw RSBN host Robert McNeely interviewing the CEO of Colonial Metals Group, Paul Stone. All right, so it is 3:15 Eastern, Wednesday, March 26th. Thanks so much for streaming in with us as we get ready to go to the White House there for the East Room of the White House for that Women's History Month event. As soon as we see a live feed there, we will go there live. In the meantime, why don't we go from Washington, D.C. down to Destin, Florida once again, to the Gulf of America, where RSBN host Ashley Brassfield was on the broadcast a bit earlier today from Destin, now made her way over to the beach to talk to some great people there. What's it like to be there right now, Ashley? It's 73 degrees, right?
Yes, it's beautiful. A little different than when we were here a few weeks ago when the Gulf of America was renamed, but it is spring break weather. It is beautiful blue skies and a matching blue water, of course, but it's really incredible to be here again with you, of course, Matthew.
Yeah, definitely. And so we were talking before about President Trump and the fact that he has all these different events within the East Room of the White House, whether it's meeting with a foreign leader or whether it's signing an executive order about no men and women's sports, or in today's case, it's going to be a great participatory event with the president there for Women's History Month. Your thoughts on the pedal to the metal that President Donald Trump has been taking this country over the past 2 months?
Yes, I mean, it's been incredible, Matthew. I mean, one of my favorites has been those signings with the executive order with the Women in Sports Act, of course, and as well as when he signed the bill regarding the Department of Education that last week. Just the absolute scene of having, children surrounding him, but having their best interest in mind in so many ways, and especially with women. These are our most vulnerable, and we have to protect them. And having a commander-in-chief in charge that is able to do that is spectacular.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I'm sure the people that are enjoying the beach right now, in Destin, Florida, right next to the Gulf of America. A majority of the people there, I would think, support President Donald Trump. So if you'd like, maybe we can walk around a little bit, talk to some folks there and see what they have to say about President Trump. And not only President Trump, just the way our country feels these days. It just feels a lot better than the last joke of an administration.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm going to take you this way. We have some fellas over here that are playing some football. And of course, it is spring break for many, as we stated down here in Florida. Waiting on them to catch a ball. We had some incredible football players right here. How are you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. Where are you guys from?
East Lansing, Michigan.
East Lansing, Michigan.
Yeah.
What's your name?
Jordan?
Jordan. Nice to meet you. Hey, Jordan, wanted to get your take on how difficult was.
We did, yes. Yes.
Awesome. And, one of the main things that has occurred recently is the renaming of the Gulf of America right next to us right now. What was your reaction when you first heard that? And what are you saying about that name?
To be honest, but I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I think it's cool. Good PR. Good. Why not keep that in-house in the US of A, right?
Right. That's exactly right. And a lot of people are saying this is like a bipartisan issue. As Marjorie Taylor Greene is a congresswoman that's actually trying to codify that name change in the Congress right now. What's your reaction to that?
I think it's probably a waste of time.
It's time.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's fair.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people are talking about just the cultural shift that's occurred ever since President Trump's gotten into office. Have you felt that? Are those in your community feeling that? What's that, cultural aspect? Maybe not even just agreeing on policy, but you feel like there's a bit of just the American dream coming back, entrepreneurial spirit, the economy growing anyway?
Yeah, we feel a little bit. I mean, obviously Michigan is heavily impacted by the automobile industry even to this day, right? So I think it to his credit, he's really placated to that crowd. And yeah, the results, I mean, it's early, but we'll see. And all signs point to positive things coming.
Absolutely. And we were in Traverse City, Michigan, actually covering one of President Trump's rallies. Of course, like you were saying, automotive being a huge portion of the economy in Michigan. What's your reaction to some of these, manufacturing movements back into the United States, specifically in the automotive manufacturing?
I think if you met anybody from Michigan, they've got family or friends from that. A lot of people aren't growing up and working. So to see that if it doesn't come back at least a priority of like they want to focus on that, that's a really cool thing for us because that's what we're built on. So I think it's a dream come true.
Awesome. Well, Michigan is a beautiful state. And
it is. Get there. If you haven't been there, come to Michigan.
Yep.
Yep. Thank you. Good to talk to you.
Well, Matthew, like you're saying, it is a beautiful day here, and it's a great day to talk to some people here next to the Gulf of America.
Yeah, it's awesome to hear from people there. Just, they didn't know that we would be casually having interviews today right there from the Gulf of America, but it's great to hear from American patriots that are saying, we're glad to see our country going in the right direction. As we're taking a live look right now, we're in Destin, Florida, of course, with RSBN host Ashley Brassfield interviewing a few people there. On the left side of your screen, that is the East Room of the White House, as the president will participate in a Women's History Month event. And then a bit later, President Trump to have a press conference from the Oval Office to talk about automotive trade and tariffs. So let's stick with Ashley as we are awaiting the president there. So Ashley, let's talk more about what's going on there in Destin, Florida. I mean, we know that it's the free state of Florida. We know a lot of Republicans live in that state. What would be your message, though, just to the people of the country right now? Maybe people in Gen Z, that are saying, I want to stand up for the American cause now.
Well, I think Florida being the free state, this really started when Governor DeSantis was able to get in and make those changes during COVID. This state was one of the first to open up during that time period. They took a stand when it was really unpopular, but also backing the president's agenda so much of the time. And really what a lot of the state, being his home state now, they're trying to model a lot what's going on in Florida, specifically with education, the economy. This state is been managed properly, unlike states like California, even North Carolina with a Democratic governor. We see mismanagement there, but you can really see the difference with these states, Matthew, especially in Florida. But we see a lot of movement also into these, red states from that time period, especially within Gen Z. People want to be in this state. People want to be in places like Tennessee, Texas, Florida. They all are moving here from all parts of the country. So I think it's a really popular part of the country now for especially my generation. But obviously snowbirds are a big portion down here. They obviously have spring breakers, a huge portion of the people you see behind me right now. But the state's a great state. It's a great place to visit and even a better place to live.
Yeah, no, it's a great part of the country there, the Gulf of America that you're near. Do you have anybody else that you could possibly see if they have anything to say just about how the country is going? And that direction, of course, that we finally took on November 5th of last year to the right side of history.
Yes, well, I'm going to keep walking this way. Maybe we can find somebody. It's kind of difficult with a lot of spin breakers. We want to kind of keep their privacy a little bit sometimes. But I'm here with my mom, actually. She's helping us out with camera work right now. You can kind of see right behind me, these boys that are playing football right here. But also, Matthew, I know we were talking about this earlier. We were talking about the scandal that's going on with Yeti as well, with the company censoring a lot of conservative nonprofits going on right now.
Yeah, exactly. And we actually interviewed Lauren Huseman from the conservative women's group that, so-called got canceled from Yeti. Well, no, we're canceling Yeti with this situation. Let's go ahead there for a couple live interviews.
Yeah, here we are. What's your guys' names?
Jared. Dayton.
Nice to meet you guys. Where are you from?
Dallas, Texas. I'm originally from Indiana.
Awesome. Okay. Well, we're here with RSBN Network with Matthew Alvarez over here. We wanted to ask, we were down here at the newly renamed Gulf of America, wanting to ask some people questions. And wanted to know, who did you vote for in the last election? We have been covering Trump rallies a lot, but I just wanted to get some people's take on this new change and their take on President Trump's presidency so far.
Oh yeah, Trump, baby. 100%. I just turned 18, so I didn't vote, but I would have voted for Trump.
Absolutely. And what's your reaction to that name change? That's kind of a cultural aspect that President Trump has made in the last few days. Obviously, you're on it. Spring break going on. What's your take?
Just 100% a good move this part. I'm just glad that it has America in the name now, because we own it. So.
Awesome. And, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of big voices coming out in support of President Trump. People like Elon Musk, I'm sure y'all are well aware. He's been on a lot of podcasts with Vaughn, of course, Joe Rogan. Wanted to get your take. A lot of young men voted for President Trump and actually won the election this past time. What was your, take about President Trump and the impact he made on the males in general?
I think it's just an alpha move, honestly, like the way that he was presenting himself, and I love what he's doing with those and allowing us to understand where our money's actually going.
I love that, the waste fraud abuse. He's exposing it, right?
Yeah.
What's your take?
I'm just glad that he's trying to do better and making big moves, not being scared of what anyone's gonna say about it or things like that. So
and we see him arrive at a lot of sporting events recently. I don't know if y'all saw the wrestling event he went to where the second lieutenant in the Air Force saluted him.
Yeah.
Of course, we saw him too at the Super Bowl. He was the first president to attend the Super Bowl. What's your take on President Trump making those appearances at this spring? And are y'all fans of certain, football, whether it be
Well, I wrestle in college.
You're a wrestler.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the fact that, he saluted Trump, and that's a big statement. That just means that we're all united, and it seems like America's coming back together. So,
I'm glad that he came. It shows that he cares about the people, and that he's making an effort to make a connection with the people, instead of just
Absolutely. And, one of the big things that's happened, and one of the alliances that President Trump made was with Robert F. Kennedy, and y'all are obviously in good shape and care about your health. What's your take on that alliance with the MAGA movement? It's taking care of a lot of our food now and getting bad stuff out.
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
yeah, I like what JFK Jr. did with the Red Ford, taking out the Red Ford, and just allowing us to see what's actually in our food. Not letting people just put whatever just for mass production.
I agree with what he said, because we cook all of our own meals, and we're really big on that, so we don't want anything bad in our food.
Yeah, that's a big point of Gen Z, I think, in general, as well. Maybe y'all will be able to do more pull-ups. RFK Jr., you guys.
Me, 100%. That's a challenge accepted. 100%.
Thank you so much for this.
It was nice to meet you.
Well, Matthew, amazing gentlemen here at Spring Break, and obviously big supporters of the president.
Yeah, isn't it cool that, Gen Z, they listed off things, even Doge, talking about how awesome that is. So, people are being informed in new ways with conservative media. Actually, what are some of the ways, as we await President Trump there at the White House, that other than RSBN, right, Do you kind of understand that, mainstream media, obviously, they lie all the time. So now we have all these other options to pick from. And it seems like those guys are listening to the right conservative media stuff.
Right. Well, I think a lot of gentlemen behind me, they're the ones that look at those podcasts. Podcast culture has been huge. They want long form podcasts, and we love Trump behind us. But we want long form. And I think that's what people got wrong when this podcast started coming out, was that they thought that people aren't going to listen, and actually people do want to learn, especially people my age. But mainstream media, it's become extremely unpopular, and I think RSBN itself has challenged that in a lot of ways, specifically in covering the rallies. And we were right up there with them, and we're right up there with their viewership, honestly, as well. And people have preference that, and we've seen this White House preference that, especially in the press briefing room, with that new media seat that's come open as well.
Yeah, isn't it awesome to see Carolyn Levitt up there? And, she's 27 years old, is on point for this country. And you've got these, establishment types trying to ask her the same question earlier today, and she still shuts them down. I mean, that's some serious talent, Ashley.
Absolutely. And I think people are sick of it. You have one opportunity to ask one question in that briefing room, and everybody wants to be in there, and you ask the same question over and over again. And frankly, I think the mainstream media thinks they know what the regular American person wants to hear. It's not the case. And, they try. I think Caroline Sunshine, one of the advocates for the campaign, was talking about this. Democrats need to understand regular people and what they want to hear. And I think, when you're out here talking to the American people like we do, you get the truth and what people want to hear and what people care about. And that's what makes RSBN so impressive, and so many other media outlets, and why so many people are turning away from the mainstream media, and they still don't change, their business model or their platforms to advocate for that.
Exactly. Well said. RSBN host Ashley Brassfield live from Destin, Florida, along the great Gulf of America. Ashley, thanks again for joining us twice today on Right Side.
Thank you, Matthew. Great seeing you.
You too. All right, so it is getting close to the bottom of the hour here on Right Side Broadcasting Network as we await President Trump there at the East Room of the White House for a Women's History Month event. Also, we heard from Carolyn Levitt, the press secretary, earlier, who said that there's going to be a 4 o'clock press conference as well from the Oval Office regarding trade and automotive industry trade and tariffs, reciprocal trade, that kind of thing. So we'll get more details as we get it here at the network. Obviously, live a lot here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's go to a few sponsors as we await the president there. MyPillow.com/RSBN, more than 2,000 products at your fingertips, in the sense of going to MyPillow.com/RSBN. You could check it all out there and use that RSBN promo code for up to 50% off some awesome products right there on your screen. So again, bottom of the hour, 3:30, approaching that mark here on Wednesday, March 26th. Covering, of course, President Trump today at the White House. Also, we saw the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, earlier in Jamaica, meeting with leaders there. And then we have been covering a number of different press briefings and different news that comes across our desk here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. And we keep our eye on breaking news, not only locally, but around the states, nationally, internationally, as we are working toward an America First news organization here to cover the stories that matter to all of us, not just to you, to myself too, right? We're all on the same team here as we the people. So common sense reporting, and that's what you can count on here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. You saw some awesome coverage from Robert McNeely earlier today. You saw Ashley Brassfield there live. You may see RSBN host Megan Kohler and RSBN host Christina Loren in the near future as well, as we continue to cover a number of things that are happening out there from coast to coast and in some cases around the globe. All right, so again, 3:30 Eastern, we may have Lauren Huseman, actually, the program director for the Luce Center for Conservative Women, join us once again, as recently Yeti actually decided they don't want the word conservative engraved on their products, so they canceled an order for this great conservative women's group. So Lauren may be joining us here at any minute, but this is as we await the president at the East Room. So actually, Lauren is joining us right now. Thanks again for joining us on Right Side.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Definitely. So talk to us about, for those that weren't watching the earlier broadcast, what the heck happened with Yeti?
Yeah, so we had been ordering mugs from them for a while. We'd done a great bulk order, and we give out our mugs to our speakers. I actually have mine here. So it's kind of their typical mug with our logo on it, and then we have a quote about courage from Claire Booth Luce on it. And we went to get another order because we were excited to hand out those mugs to our speakers and all the women in our network. But unfortunately, Yeti decided that at this point they would like to no longer be affiliated with the word conservative. They said that they wouldn't be able to print our logo because we are, quote, political in nature, which is completely not true. We are a 501c3 nonprofit, which means we do not and we legally cannot endorse or oppose candidates for public office. We can't even side with specific political parties. So obviously this really comes down to an attack on our conservative values and our beliefs.
But can you believe it? I mean, such a great company, though, we thought was so great. They have such a great wide scope of people's their products that they have out there. So at the end of the day, how many products did you order? And then what was it specifically? Did they email you and then he said, well, we can't use the word conservative on there?
Yeah, so we had already done an order in the past again for these like Rambler mugs. And what they did is they actually accepted our order and they said, we're working on it, it'll be ready soon. And then we later received an email that said we cannot complete your order because of a controversial word that's, quote, political in nature on the design that you sent us, which very interesting because before we didn't have a problem. I'm not sure what happened with Yeti management. Maybe there's something going on there where they kind of caught it later and made sure that they didn't want to be affiliated with it. We talked to several customer service representatives who told us that the word conservative is just not allowed. It's not allowed to be printed. So it would be fascinating to see if the same thing would happen to an organization for liberal or progressive women. That would be very interesting to see.
Well, maybe put an order in and see. I mean, that's a little bit of investigative journalism right there. Speaking of journalism, I did reach out to Yeti both via phone call and an email to their media line. No response back from Yeti. So we'll see what happens there. So moving forward, I hear that you guys have received calls from other companies as well.
Yeah, we've gotten a lot of attention from all of these really great conservative companies. I know Grizzly Coolers has been in contact with us, which they are fantastic. There's a lot of veteran-owned, military-owned companies that have reached out to us too. So we're excited to move on from Yeti and into these other groups who are been so generous and so excited to support conservatives.
Thank you so much, Lauren. We're going to go to President Trump. Thanks again for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ooh, that's a lot of good-looking people there. Well, this is great. It's a great honor to be with you, and I want to thank everyone and welcome you to the most spectacular place, the White House. It's just an amazing place to live and to work in, and I've seen a lot of good places, but believe me, there's nothing like this. It's just very special, and it's great to have you here to celebrate Women's History Month. That's a big deal. And today we honor the legacy of incredible women like Betsy Ross, Harriet Tubman, Susan B. Anthony, Clara Barton, and Amelia Earhart, all legends. And their extraordinary courage and patriotism and devotion propelled our nation to glory and to greatness. They are great women, many great women. And thank you for the vote. You were very nice to me. The women we set every record. We loved it. We loved that vote. But we're delighted to be joined by some of the pioneering women who are making history in our own time. A woman that's just absolutely incredible. I can't tell you enough about her. She ran my campaign. We kept winning. And then we did well where she won Florida by record numbers. And I said, the second time I said, well, just keep running Florida. And the big one was stolen from us, So I said, we better get her for number 3. And we won in records. We won every swing state. We won by millions of votes, the popular vote. We won everything. We won the districts at 2,750 to 500, 507 or something like that. And we just won so big, and her name is Susie Wiles. And she, where are you, Susie? And she was just named by one of the very prominent media groups. I won't mention it because I cannot stand the people, but she was just named as, and it's true, the most powerful woman in the world. Susie. That is crazy, huh? That's a big, her father was a great, Pat Summerall, a great announcer, really great football player and announcer for the NFL for like 27 years. He really got the NFL. He did pretty well with the NFL. He got him off to a very good start, didn't he? But he was great. But she's got those same traits. So thank you very much, Susie. Great job. Also, we're going to go to somebody that's really the rage right now. She's the youngest ever White House press secretary, Caroline Leavitt. Caroline, look at you, huh? They said, sir, she's just too young. And I said, I don't know about that. She did awfully good because she did it during the campaign and she was awfully good. And she's been amazing. She just did another one just a little while ago. She looked at Susie and looked at me. I don't know. I think I'm ready, sir. How old are you? 27, right? 27. And I said, you're not too young. And she's knocking them dead. Everyone's talking about you. Thank you very much. Great job. And we have somebody else who's like a rocket ship, the counselor to the president. She served me well. I'm going to miss her, but we'll see a lot of her anyway. I hope it's on a friendly basis because I've got to be very concerned because she's going to be the new U.S. Attorney for the District of New Jersey. Alina, where's Alina Habba? Alina Habba. Thanks, Alina. She's going to be great. I'll tell you, she's going to be great. She's a great lawyer. And lives in New Jersey. And I said, that sounds like a good combination. Everybody wanted that job. They're all looking for the job. And I said, wait a minute, doesn't Alina live in New Jersey? Yeah, I think Alina's going to get that job. So congratulations, Alina. It's fantastic. I'm also thrilled to say that we have more women in our cabinet than any Republican president in the history of our country. And joining us today is a woman I've known a long time. You talk about strong women. This is a strong woman. Remember, they were saying, he doesn't like strong women. That may be true, but if that's true, I'm in deep trouble because I'm surrounded. I got the strongest women. And this is a beautiful, strong, wonderful woman, Attorney General Pam Bondi. Yesterday, you know, she was talking about these guys that like burning down cars and plants and everything else. And I was watching her on television. She said, I'm going to get you. We're going to find you. And you're going to suffer. And I say, man, I don't want her after me. And, you know, it's amazing. The attacks have gone down very, very precipitously. So Pam is fantastic. Thank you very much, Pam. Really amazing. Along with a woman who was given a very hard and difficult problem, the cost of eggs. This was the problem. The cost of eggs. Eggs were through the roof. If you got to see the Biden chart, it's like a rocket ship, and Trump is like this way. But I gave Brooke the Secretary of Agriculture, and I didn't know it. I didn't know it. She studied that in college. I didn't know that. I was going to give it to her anyway. It didn't matter that she studied, but it sort of helped, right? But she came in and she lowered the cost of eggs by almost 50% in 3 weeks. Right? Someday you're going to tell us that secret. I want to find out. But the chart looks great. It's Biden like this, and then we're like this. But we also, by the way, we lowered energy costs really like tremendously. Energy's way down. Cost of gasoline's way down. The cost of groceries, a word that I used a lot on the campaign. It's like an old-fashioned word, but it's a beautiful word, very descriptive word. And the groceries are coming down, Brooke, at a level that we're finally getting costs under control in our country, and people don't like talking about it because it's so good, it's so positive. I haven't seen one story on eggs plummeting by 50%, but someday they'll get around to writing it. Secretary of Education, she's trying to put herself out of a job. Linda, she's trying to put herself out of a job. She's moving education back to the states, and she's doing it at a rapid rate, and she's an amazing woman. I've known her also for a long time. She's been amazing. No matter where she's been successful, including with her husband building a tremendous empire. And Linda McMahon is very special. Thank you, Linda. Thank you. And it's getting praised, by the way, the concept of moving education back to the states, back to the mothers and the fathers. And you probably do it for less than half, and you're going to have great, great schools. You know, I say that in our country they have charts, and they rate the countries, various countries, and Norway and Denmark and Sweden and lots of places are rated at the top. And Finland, China's rated very high too. Tell me, that takes the big problem out, because if they can do it, that's big, so we can do it. And we're rated toward the bottom. We're at number 37, 38, 39, or 40 out of 40. So we're just about last. And yet we're first in one very nice category, cost per pupil. So obviously there's something wrong. We just have to repeat that, Linda, and everybody says, well, I guess it's time to do it. And it's been that way for a long time. And originally we had it run by home states, so we never had that kind of a problem. But it's going to be, Katie, it's going to be brought back again. And Linda's going to do it. And I just say, you know, she said, you basically want me to get out of government, don't you? I said, that's right. Do your job and get out. But I promise I'll have something else for you, okay? I promise I'll have something even better for you, all right? But you're doing a job, and we appreciate it. Also, a special man. He's got a tremendous majority. It's so easy, a majority of about one. I think he's the only man could do the job because everybody loves him. Everybody respects him. He's really smart. Really, he's so nice. People say, is he smart? I said, you have no idea. He's actually, you know, he's really nice because he's smart. He knows it's the only way you can live with it. Where is Mike? Mike. It's the only way you can do it. He's the nicest guy. But in actuality, he's not a nice person. He's ruthless. You haven't seen this guy when he gets angry. I'll ruin your image overnight. He is a phenomenal guy. Our great speaker, Mike Johnson. Thank you very much. I don't know. Is that good or bad for you? I'm not so sure. It's okay. He said whatever the heck you want to say is okay. First female Republican Attorney General of Iowa and an early supporter of Trump. And where's Brenna Bird? Brenna, thank you very much. She's so popular in Iowa. She came out so early, and I appreciate it very much. That's great. Alaska Lieutenant Governor Nancy Dahlstrom. Nancy, thank you, Nancy. Thank you very much. You have a great governor, too, by the way, Nancy. He's also tall. He's seriously tall. I mean, the guy's like 7'2". He is a tall guy, but he's a great governor. I have a son who's tall like him. And Barron is very tall. They're all tall, but Barron's seriously tall, right? So anyway, say hello to him. He's a great governor. South Carolina Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evett. Where is Pamela? Thank you very much. Good job you're doing. Great job. Good. And good luck with everything. I know it's big stuff, right? Oh, good. Thank you. Well, you have a great governor. Oklahoma Agricultural Commissioner Blaine Arthur. Blaine, thank you, Blaine. Good. Nice to see you. And so many other incredible women. I'm going to make so many enemies because I'm looking here. I know every one of them, and I'm supposed to say their names. Maybe we'll get to it. I don't know. It's a long list. For 4 long years, we had an administration that tried to abolish the very concept of womanhood and replace it with radical gender ideology. Maybe you heard something about that. They destroyed women's spaces and even tried to replace the word mother with the term birther person. A mother became a birther person. What's that all about? Then you wonder why they lost. They're trying to figure out why did they lose. I saw a congressman today for the Democrats. He was having a big fight on television early this morning trying to make it so that really he thinks men should play in women's sports. He hasn't given that up yet. He was fighting like crazy. I said, this guy is going to lose. He's going to lose badly. The whole party is still into that. They haven't learned and we don't want them to learn, frankly. We want them to keep fighting. Let's not tell them. Under the Trump administration, we're ending the Marxist war on women, and you had a war on women, and we're protecting women's rights, defending women's dignity, and standing up for the American moms and daughters. So many are represented here, great people in this room. American women have never had bigger champions than all of us in the White House. I mean, it's me, but it's the group of men and women. We have a lot of men that are like Howard, our head of commerce, I see is here. What are you doing here, Howard? Oh, that's a good. He's got his beautiful wife here. I was saying, what's Howard doing here? It's like there aren't too many men in this audience, actually. But he's a big advocate, and we're going to be making right after this, we're going to be making a big special announcement, Howard and I and Scott and a few other people on cars. We have Liberation Day in America. That's where we take back all of this money that's been ripped off from us for so many decades, and we start a process. We're going to go with the tariffs on cars, and as you've probably been reading, it's all over the place. You've been reading and seeing and watching car companies and every other form of company. They're pouring back into our country at levels never seen before. We're up to, I guess, close, Howard, to $5 trillion of investments already, and there's never been that much for a year. We did that in a period of 6 weeks. There's never been any numbers like that. We've never seen. They're all coming in so they don't have to pay tariffs. It's very simple, because if you build your product in the USA, there is no tariff. On day one, I made the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female. So, is there anybody, seriously, is there anybody that disagrees with that in this room? I was thinking maybe somebody from the press might raise their hand. I don't think so. There aren't too many people. You know, it's amazing. It's got to be like a 98% issue, right? So what are they doing, Marjorie? What are they doing? They're fighting for a 2% issue. That's good. Let them keep doing it. No matter how many surgeries you have or chemicals you inject, if you're born with male DNA in every cell of your body, you can never become a woman. You're not going to be a woman. And that's why last month I proudly signed a historic executive order to ban men from competing in women's sports, and it was very popular and very popular. We had a track meet, and it was so disparaging to great women athletes. I've known so many great women athletes. I gave Annika Sorenstam the Medal of Freedom here not so long ago, and these are unbelievable athletes, but it's so ridiculous. They had a track meet, and you heard me talking about long-distance track meet. The man won by 5 hours and 14 minutes and 12 seconds, and I said, this is not good. And you want to see worse? Take a look at the weightlifting records. Take a look at the boxing. Take a look at this. The whole thing is ridiculous, and frankly, it's demeaning to women. And you are superior to men, in my opinion. What do I know? You are. I see you. No, they are superior. I've known it all my life, and I'm not happy about it. I'm not happy. I also banned puberty blockers. Can you believe I'm even saying this? And the sexual mutilation of minor youth. Now, who would think, let's go back 10 or 15 years. If you ever heard a statement like that, you'd say, what the hell is he even talking about? Right, Brooke? What is he talking about? Puberty blockers. But that's where we are. That's where we've come, and we're ending it. We're sending it back to where it came from, oblivion, right? So in the recent election, we did fantastically well with women. I kept hearing, women don't like them. I said, I think they do. Don't like fake polls don't like me. That's who don't like me. But we're setting records in so many of these cases, and I was for women. I was for the women, the suburban housewife, where I stopped low-income housing projects from being built at a house next to you, where people were being decimated. The houses were being literally ripped up and destroyed. And I stopped it, and we've stopped it again. We had to stop it again. I stopped it first term. We had a great first term, a really successful first term. We had the largest increase in stock market value, 88% increase in the history of our country. We gave you the biggest tax cuts. We gave you the biggest regulation cuts. We rebuilt our military. We gave too much of it away to Afghanistan, this character. He gave billions and billions of dollars of it away to Afghanistan. And maybe we'll have to ask for that back, although it's getting a little old now. They're getting a little old. We're building new stuff. But I will say that it was such an honor working with so many great women. I've worked with women all my life. I've always been ahead on that subject. I had women in my construction business putting up skyscrapers in New York 30 years ago, 35 years ago, long before it was in vogue. And they were phenomenal. Every one of them was phenomenal. My administration listens to America's moms, and that's why I recently created the Presidential Commission to make America healthy again, and that's really caught on. That's really caught on. And Bobby Kennedy, by the way, is doing a great job. He was. I think it's going to go down as another great choice. And we just don't want to treat the chronic disease crisis. We want to prevent our children from getting sick in the first place. And there are so many things that we are doing wrong. Something happened. If you go back 20 years, autism, think of it, 1 in 20,000 children. Think of that. 1, autism. You see it all over. 1 in 20,000 children. Now it's 1 in 36 children. Now, what the hell is that all about? There's something out there, and we got to find it. But can you imagine 1 in 20,000, and now it's 1 in 36, not 36,000, 1 in 36 children. And I see it all the time. And so there's something out there, and we're going to find it. We're doing something really wrong, and it might be very simple to even correct, but we're looking very hard, and Bobby's looking very hard, and we're going to figure it out. And to further support our nation's mothers, I've signed an executive order to expand access to fertility treatments like IVF. That's Katie. Katie. Where's Katie? Katie called your great senator from Alabama. She called, and she was like in a little bit of angst, right? She said, "Sir, we just had a ruling from an Alabama judge who said you couldn't have the clinics IVF." And I was in my plane, and she said, "It's terrible, it's terrible. Friends of mine are virtually attacking me," and said, because they're not really, people don't talk about it necessarily. Why should they? But Katie called me up. She did such a great job, and she said, "Sir, you have to get on this right away. It's terrible. They're going to close up all the clinics." They ordered all the clinics closed. And I said, "So, Katie, give me a quick definition, please. Educate me in a minute or less." And she did. And I came out totally in favor of what all of these women wanted. And it became our issue. We actually took it away, Mike, from the Democrats. They were late to the party. And it was really, I give you a lot of credit. So thank you very much. Thank you, Katie. Great job. And I also signed an executive order to begin abolishing the Department of Education, as we said, but also to go back and do things with our school children that just hasn't been done in many, many years. But the basic is reading, writing, and arithmetic, and we want to make sure that they teach English, okay? But I think we're not going to have a problem, and you're going to see things happen, I think, on the education front like nobody can believe. It's very exciting. Very exciting. And so many of the states like Iowa and Idaho and Indiana, by the way, unrelated, but Indiana, they just signed Honda, one of the biggest auto plants in the world, is going. Honda, big company, would have never come here except for, let's say, the election. I like to say the election result, but let's give tariffs a little. Well, without the election result, you wouldn't have the tariffs, right? So I guess it's all about the election, Marjorie. But one of the biggest anywhere in the world, they're building in Indiana, big plant, and we have many of them going up. Many plants in other countries have stopped. They've stopped construction. One of them, right in the middle of construction, they just signed a contract. They're going to build it here instead. So you're going to see that at record. Just remember, I told you so in 12 months from now. But on day one, we're ending the inflation nightmare that Joe Biden created and caused, but just by His spending, two things, his spending, but I think more important, he destroyed our energy policy. And energy started going up, gasoline, any form of energy went through the roof. And then what he did to get it down a little bit, he went back to the Trump policy. Everything, let them drill, let them. They were very, very concerned. And it was too late because that jackrabbit had gotten out of the nest. And it was too late. They really screwed us up in so many ways. How about allowing millions and millions of people to come into our country, open borders, people from all over the world, not South America, but all over the world. They came in from Africa, from Asia, from all over the world, from prisons. The prisons were emptied into our country. I call them prisons and jails, prison being a slightly tougher term, but the prisons and jails were emptied into our country. The mental institutions and insane asylum, same thing. Insane asylum is mental institution on steroids, right? I used to say Dr. Hannibal Lecter, the great Dr. Hannibal Lecter is in a hotel room near you. And the fake news back there, a lot of fake news here, by the way. Fake news would say, why does he keep mentioning Hannibal Lecter? I said, you know why? Because we just won an election. We got a lot of votes because of Hannibal Lecter. We don't want to have Hannibal Lecter in our country. So we watched what was happening to destroy our country. And a woman, by the way, the head of Homeland, Christie is doing a great job. Kristi Noem. She's doing a great job. She's getting them out. And Tom Homan. But Tom Homan and Kristi Noem, they're doing an unbelievable job. She's tough. She might be tougher than Tom. Is that pretty tough, right? I say Tom is central casting, but he says, I think she might be tougher than me. So we needed that because she's dealing with a rough group of people. Millions and millions of people. 21 million people came in, but of that, at least 3 million are serious, serious criminals. Many of them are murderers, 11,088. And of that number, about half have murdered more than one person. This is not going to end well. So we're getting them out in record numbers, and we're having a lot of problems with the courts because the courts want to pretend they're president. And they're not president. They didn't get 80 million votes, and they're not. They can't do that to this country. That's not their job. But we're getting them out in record numbers, and it's going to save a lot of lives. We got some really bad people in this country, but you see the ones we're taking out. Trendy Aragua, the toughest of all gangs, MS-13. And we're getting them out. So in just 2 months, core inflation has dropped to its lowest pace in 4 years. We've got it going down. The groceries I told you about, and energy of all kinds, gasoline, that's fallen below now $3. For $3 for the first time in years since I was there, it's fallen below $3. We're going to get it down quite a bit lower. That's going to bring prices still further down, and people are going to be able to buy their groceries again, and so important. And again, I want to just congratulate you, Brooke. What a job you've done over there with the eggs. I was in office for 1 week, and I got this one article was so bad that Donald Trump has caused a massive egg problem. And I said, this is, and they showed it, it's like, terrible. But it was during his term that it went up, right? And, but they were hammering me. They thought they had us until I put you in that position. And I don't know what the hell magic wand you use. And now they don't talk about it anymore. It's terrible. Well, we'll talk. We have to talk about it, If they don't talk about it, we talk about it, right, Brooke? But what a job you've done. Now we need Congress to pass the largest tax cuts in American history, and Mike is going to get that. And I think we can finally say one big, beautiful bill, because everybody's there. I spoke with John Thune, is doing a terrific job also, and the senators, and we want one big, beautiful bill. Just put it all in that bill, and we'll figure a way to have it passed, right? We'll figure a way. But it'll be the largest tax cuts in American history. When you add that onto the fact that if they don't pass this, you will have the largest tax increase by far, because the tax increase that I passed 5 years ago, the biggest in history, bigger than the Reagan tax cuts, what happens is that jumps back to where they used to be. So if you add that onto the other normal tax increases that the Democrats want to give, this would be the largest tax increase in history by 58% or more, I guess, but 58%. And I don't know how anybody can vote for a Democrat, but I know one thing, that I believe the Democrats are going to be forced to help vote for this bill. And then we have the very important continuation of debt. I don't call it a debt increase because we're not looking to increase. We want to just continue that line, and we should call it, I think, from now on, Mike, we're going to call it the continuation because that's what it is. That was thrown into our lap unnecessarily, but we have it, and it's fine that we have it. But I think we're going to get tremendous support even from Democrats because otherwise they're voting for the biggest tax increase in history by far, by, I think, 38 points. And I don't think they're going to want to do that. So, Mike, I hear you're doing great on it. And we're going to have tremendous goodies in the bag for women, too. The women, between the fertilization and all of the other things that we're talking about, it's going to be great. We're joined today, fertilization. I'm still very proud of it. I don't care. I'll be known as the fertilization president, and that's okay. That's not bad. That's not bad. I've been called much worse. Actually, I like it, right? I like it. Thank you. We're joined today by many of the women members of the House and Senate who make up so much and make this all happen. And I especially want to recognize the leaders of the brand new Republican Women's Caucus, Senator Katie Britt. Again, Katie, thank you. Thank you, Katie. Great job you do. And Representative Kat Kamek, who just announced a new baby girl. That's great. I also want to say driving force behind the effort to create a women's history museum, working very much with some of the women in this room. I'm not sure if it's been discussed specifically, but to create a women's museum on the National Mall. And we have a great site. I'm very good at real estate, you know. We have a great site. And Nicole Maliotakis is here someplace. Where's Nicole? And she is really working hard on this one. This is a passion for you, and you're working. It's a big, beautiful. She said it's going to be a big, beautiful museum. Well, it has to be. If it's for women, it better be big and beautiful, or we're in trouble, right? But we're working on that. Also here, I just have this list, and they're incredible people, so I have to do it. Otherwise, I'll be run out of town. I don't have the courage not to do it. Senator Marsha Blackburn. Marsha, thank you very much. So incredible. Unbelievable talent. Senator Joni Ernst. Joni Ernst. Where's Joni? Hi, Joni. I owe you a call. I'll call you. Okay? Deb Fisher just won a great race, Nebraska. Thank you, Deb. Great race, Deb. Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith. Oh, we love Cindy Hyde. Thank you, Cindy Hyde. She said, sir, could you do a rally for me? I said, yeah, I'll do a rally for you. I get this. Sir, could you do 2 more for me? I did. We did 3, and we blew him out, right? It was an Obama sycophant. We blew him out of the water, right, Cindy Hyde? So thank you. And Senator Ashley Moody, congratulations. Where is Ashley? Congratulations, Ashley. Also, Representative, and this one is tough. She's tough. Lisa McClain. She's tough and good. She's a good one. She's a real leader. Thank you. Great job, Lisa. Representative Stephanie Bice. Thank you very much. Thank you. Where's Stephanie? Jerry Biggs. Hi. Hi, Sherry. Good. Lauren Boebert. Great people. Monica De La Cruz. Monica De La Cruz. Hi, Monica. Good job. Julie Fedorchak. Fedorchak. Hi, Julie. Great. Nice to see you. A person that is more experienced than anybody, and she's still a young woman, very young, Virginia Fox. Virginia. What a good woman, right, Mike? A quiet woman, but she, underneath that quiet facade, she's a tiger. Marjorie Taylor Greene. Highly respected woman, I tell you. Thanks, Marjorie. Great woman. Diana Harshbarger. Diana Harshbarger. Where are you, Diana? Thank you. Thank you. Good job with your son, too. Thank you. Ashley Hinton. Ashley. Thank you. Thanks, Ashley. Good. Good job. Erin Houchin. Thank you, Erin. Thank you very much. Laurel Lee. Laurel, thank you. Good. Good job. Julia Letlow. Good. Nice seeing you, Julia. She's done a great job. Anna Paulina Luna. Anna. Good. Nice to see you. Another quiet one, Nancy Mace. Hi, Nancy. Great. Great job. And Nicole, I said hello to you and your museum, and you get that going, and we're going to back it 100%, unless the women here would rather not have a... Is anybody not in favor of a women's museum in this room, please? It's okay. I could see some. Maybe they want to save a couple of bucks, right? No takers. Okay. You're all set. You have it then, I guess. I sort of thought that was going to happen. Celeste Malloy. Celeste, thank you. Great job. Great job. Carol Miller, great election. Thank you, Carol. Great job, Carol. A friend of mine, a beautiful person, a beautiful family. It's like she's got children. They're all supermodels, male and female. Handsome husband. Carol, Mary, Mary Miller. Mary. How's it going? Okay, good. Mary Miller's a really spectacular person and a great congresswoman. Thank you very much. 22nd grandchild. Look at her. It's one of the most beautiful families. It really is. Starting with you, it's just a beautiful family. So you have a long way to go, Kat. Come on, you have to get going. Marionette Miller Meeks. Great election you had. Great election. Great. Great job. Oh, Maria Salazar. Where is Maria? She is strong. She is a tough one. But they love her. We all love her. Thank you. Another one who's really good. I got to know her very well along with Mike. We were having some talks, and she really knows what she's talking about. She was right 100%. Victoria Spartz. Thank you, Victoria. Thank you very much. And Beth Van Dyne, who's fabulous. Hi, Beth. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's such a great group of people. And there's others in there. I'm going to get killed. I know. You're for me and I'm for you. That's true. Can you imagine there are others? I'm sitting and looking at others. I'm going to be in trouble. That's the problem. When you do that, you leave a couple of them out. They never speak to you again. They never. Now we need Congress to pass the largest tax cuts, and we are going to get that done. And we're joined today by so many people that are just so great. And we are going to have a little bit of a celebration after this is finished in one of the outer rooms. They have some stuff for the women. Much better. We did this for men. And, you know, it's very unexciting having a day for men. I stood up here. It was like I reduced the speech from 10 pages to about 2 paragraphs. It was boring. It was boring as hell to tell you. Throughout our history, strong, tough, visionary women have defended our flag, strengthened our communities, explored new frontiers, and expanded the American dream for all of our children and all of our people. Now, patriotic American women like those in this room are helping lead our nation into the golden age of America. And that's what we're calling it. This is the golden age of America. We want to do things that nobody thought were possible. You know, had I done it the more traditional way, which I actually did, but we won't talk about that. But had it been the, 4 plus 4 as opposed to floor 4, let's see how bad they do, and then we get another 4 at numbers too big to rig, we call it. We have to go out too big to rig. They tried, but it was too big to rig. Had we done it that way, it wouldn't have been nearly as important or nearly as historic. It's much more historic. It's a much more important presidency. And frankly, because of how bad they were, we're able to do things that we could have never done if it were traditional. I don't think, Marjorie, we would have ever been able to have done the things we are doing now. You see what we're doing with the colleges, and they're all bending and saying, sir, thank you very much. We appreciate it. And they are, nobody can believe it, including law firms that have been so horrible, law firms that nobody would believe, and they're just saying, where do I sign? Where do I sign? Nobody can believe it, and there's more coming. But we really are in the golden age of America, and I think you're going to see it more and more as we go along. Together, we're beginning our country's greatest era, and we're building a future that will be stronger, safer, healthier, and happier than ever before. And you're really going to be the leaders. I think you're going to be the dominant leaders, and you have a lot of them in this room politically, but just the fact that you're here and the fact that you're with us is so important. There's nothing like strong, beautiful, wonderful women. You have the heart, you have the whole spirit. You're amazing people, and it's an honor to be with you, and we're going to work together, and we're going to make this the greatest age in the history of our country. Thank you. Thank you, Mary. Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody.
What a great event there from the East Room of the White House. Just want to echo what the president was saying there. Just want to give a shout out to every patriotic American woman out there, including my wife and our 6-month-old daughter. All right, so that wraps up our coverage for this part of our day. We have some more coverage coming up here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's take a few sponsors. We're going to start a new live stream for the next event, which will be from the Oval Office at any minute now for the auto tariffs Oval Office remarks and speech there and some of the Q&A back and forth. So we'll have that in the next stream. Colonial Metals Group, freegoldguide.com is the website for Colonial Metals Group. If you'd like to get a free info kit on gold and silver, you can do so by going to freegoldguide.com. Also, let's shift over to AmericanFinancing.net. If you're looking to save upwards of $800 on average a month through this great group, you can through the home financing and all of that. You'll see it all right there at AmericanFinancing.net, a great sponsor here at the network, as is MyPillow.com. MyPillow.com/RSBN. A lot of great products right there for you. So all you have to do is go to MyPillow.com/RSBN. If you'd like to donate to this network, just text RSBN to 801-801, RSBN to 801-801. We also have that newsletter, RSBNetwork.com/newsletter, for America First updates and a lot of offers on there as well. So again, thank you so much for watching our coverage today. We have another live stream starting in just a minute. For all of us here at Right Side, I'm Matthew Alvarez. We'll see you in just a few minutes.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
I hear every day about the products you all wish MyPillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard MyPillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.